Okay.
Okay, so one thing I didn't speak much on is that we are a PATH Premier Center, and that was actually one of our strategic plans, was to be able to become a Premier Center, which we accomplished in January of this year. So we were pretty proud of that. And as a PATH Center, all of our instructors, and most of you know this, will be certified instructors. We adhere to many safety standards, many administration standards, facility standards, all good for the industry. So I suggest for any of you who are interested is to look at the PATH website and to be familiar, and if this is something that you want to pursue, it's a very good avenue to pursue it through. So that's.
It's great having those standards, and I know I'm very familiar with special education, and part of my view there is that a special education teacher is a teacher who has to teach extremely well. You know, it is a specialty, but they just have to teach well. And my experience with PATH, for any riding instructor, even though it's a specialty area, it sets standards. It allows you to learn to teach well.
Yeah.
So it would be very useful for anyone that's going to be in the education setting.
Yes, I agree. And speaking of which, that as well, the teaching aspect is so important. You know, and even if you've taught swimming or you've taught whatever you've taught, it can be applicable. And the more experience you have, you know, mentoring in a good teaching situation, you know, the better off you'll be, you know, as an instructor in whatever you're doing.
Yeah, great. And I know some insurance companies will not insure a therapeutic site that's not PATH certified.
Yeah.
So, you know.
I'm not sure what that is, but I'm not
Yeah,
surprised.
not so.
We cover all our bases in that.
Yeah.
Good.
And the site certification is a big deal. I know probably the first time you went through it, it was quite onerous.
Oh,
you know.
it was very onerous.
Yeah. But it makes you better.
Oh, yeah, we learned a lot.
Yeah.
We learned so many little things that we thought that we were doing well. We went, we could do this better by just changing, you know, something. For example, we had a couple outlets right by where you go out of our barn to a stall. And I realized that the horse could stick his head in and, you know, get in trouble. And that all we needed to do was put a sliding, you know, piece of wood over it or some sort of cover. And it was perfect. And I just thought, how did I not see that before?
Right, yeah.
So we kind of went around, and we were all eyes on everything, and everyone came up with little things that we could do that were better, and so it was a really good experience, as painful as it was.
So, I mean, one of the things I've noticed here, I mean, you certainly spend a lot of time on the grounds, but rather than dirt, one, you've got, you know, structured walkways, but you have flowers. You have, you know, you mowed, you weed eat it, but it's got to feel warmer for someone rather than working in this dusty old barn. You know, when you've got, and you have chickens, and they always make people happy to have chickens.
Love chickens.
You know, but that whole environment has got to, the person's got to let a breath of air out, you know. So.
And we feel that way for our families. You know, this should be an environment not just for whoever is participating, but for the family to feel good and relax in, and you know, that's important to us. And with COVID, what's been interesting is some of our participants that we can't social distance with, but still need to really be there, we've trained the families to jump in. And they've had a good time. Really, you know, they've never been out in the Century Trail.
Right.
You know, they had, you know, so it's worked surprisingly well. And again, that was something that I hadn't really considered, because I always felt like they needed to have their own time, and this was their time to, you know, relax. But I think moving forward, this is something that we will always ask and always do a training for parents. So if we are shorthanded or they do want to come out, that they can participate as a family.
Right.
And that, you know, so that was a a good aha moment.
Yeah, that's interesting. So, yeah.
All right.
Well, thank you very much.
You're very welcome. I'm looking forward to you guys all coming.